That's stupid. The gender discussion. To set the frame for this video right away, my position on this issue is the most despicable, aggravating and generally hated of them all. I am a moderate. Okay, Sean, you can zoom out again. Better. So, I will neither advocate the erasure of gender roles nor call trans people abominations. And in these black and white, if you're not with me, you are against me times, this basically means that both sides will see me as an enemy for not being radical enough in their respective direction. Also, moving forward, I will mostly focus on trans people, but what I say also goes for any other gender deviating from the cis default. With the stage for my social suicide now properly made, let's jump into it. I stand by what I said in That's Stupid Too Many Genders on Facebook. If it helps those with gender dysphoria to feel happier with themselves, I support people identifying as whatever gender they want. This includes to do my best to address them by their chosen pronouns. Given that I have a hard time even remembering people's names and faces, this is more of a challenge than it sounds like. And also treating them as their chosen gender and not like a boy in a dress or a girl with a beard. And last but not least, I will side with them against discrimination directed at them. To summarize, I will treat them like normal people, which would be, by the way, also the perfect approach for trans-critical conservatives. A big argument against trans people is that they are just special snowflakes who want attention. Well, in this case, not paying any attention to the transness of a person should be the worst you can do to them. However, the vast majority of true trans folks would also be satisfied because they are not asking for anything but being handled equally as people. In short, don't give them special treatment, neither bad nor good. Okay, I think I have successfully pissed off all conservative viewers. Now for the other side. As much as I support people identifying as what they want, I dare to say, besides the tremendous meaning for the trans person themselves, it is of surprising little consequence what your gender is. Or rather, it should be if it wasn't for the aforementioned conservatives who give trans people a hard time for not fitting their standards. Friends, hobbies, all the things you do in your free time. How is your self-identification in any way really relevant to any of these? Either you like somebody or something or you don't. If somebody is cool, I couldn't care less what's between their legs. It really only becomes an issue when they themselves make a big deal about it. Like a trans person bringing a calm and constructive discussion to a screeching halt in a rather aggressive manner because one person who didn't know them misgendered them. But again, this has nothing to do with the person being trans, but rather with this person acting rude. Even the vast majority of all jobs out there have no actual sex or gender requirements and should go to the person most qualified. And yes, this implies that I'm against stuff like the female quota, but that's for another video. If you are the most qualified person but don't get hired because you are trans, we are back to the aforementioned discrimination and I am right back at your side. But for those situations where it plays a role if you are male or female, and I understand that this is not a pleasant point for trans people, it nearly always is about the biological sex and not the gender. Take most professional sports for example. Men and women don't just have separate leagues because they don't like playing with each other. There are legit physical differences between the sexes. Men are on average taller, stronger and heavier than women. Pinning the best men and women directly against each other in a physical competition would just be not fair. Consequently, it is similarly unfair, if not even more so, to allow a trans woman to compete against biological women. Another aspect where I say your sex is at least as important as your gender is your ID. To clarify, I am not against including the gender on your ID. I can actually even see benefits. For example, when you are a trans man with a male name and you look like a guy, your gender on the ID helps identifying you as the owner. However, let's say you have been in an accident and are unconscious. The rescuers try to identify you, but the quote sex on your ID does not align with your biological sex. This could actually have severe consequences for you if you get mistreated due to this gap in information. An ID is primarily concerned with biological facts. your age, your height, your natural hair color. No amount of hair dye will allow you to change dark blonde into bright two-tone blue. Otherwise, I would have already tried. And since I brought up the medical relevance of your sex, as much as you identify as a man, if you have a vagina and ovaries, you need to go to a gynecologist. If a medical study asks for female volunteers to test a new medication, a trans woman would not be welcome, while a trans man, given that he isn't going through an interfering hormone therapy, most likely would. Like the ID, medicine is really only interested in biological facts. Last, but certainly not least, there is sex itself. Because while your gender certainly plays a huge role who is a potential sexual partner for you, at the end of the day, it is your and their sexual preference that dictates if you can make it work between the sheets. Unless you are pan, bi, or another sexual orientation that feels equally attracted to male and female body parts, you have one preferred sex you want to have intercourse with. And the same goes for your partners. If you are a trans boy who still likes the D, you will have better chances with a straight guy than with a gay one. Real life example, I am, even if my behavior sometimes makes it a little bit ambiguous, a cis straight male. And yet, I had no problem sleeping with a trans man a while back, because all the body parts that get me hot and horny have been available. Not saying that there aren't any workarounds and tools that can help a couple make it work, even if their sexes and their sexual preferences do not align. But making it work is not the same as being truly into your partner's physiology. Which brings us to the ultimate goal of sex: reproduction. Yeah, well, if you are not aware why Mother Nature doesn't really care about your gender at all, I have to redirect you to your parents. Have a camera ready and ask them about the birds and the bees. Awkward shenanigans guaranteed. With all that said, the entire big-scale discussion about gender is stupid. Less than 1% of all people are trans to begin with. Let them identify with what they want. It doesn't really hurt anybody, and it would be of very little consequence for everybody if both sides wouldn't make such a big fuss about it constantly. What bathroom should trans people go to? Just make public bathrooms fucking unisex and stop making this entire issue unnecessarily complicated. Because that's stupid. Hey guys! While I sincerely believe that this aggressive, unproductive public debate is utterly stupid, I am completely aware that the topic of gender is hella complicated and often an easy solution like the unisex bathroom is simply not an option. Take, for example, the high school locker room. Nobody in their right mind would suggest to put all these horny teens into one unisex room to get naked in front of each other. And while it is easy to say discrimination is bad and should not happen, it is still an issue, and ideas like putting the sex and gender both on the ID, no matter how right it would be, could open the door for more discrimination. But this is the real issue that people should focus on instead of all the peripheral issues that always get all the attention. And of course there is the related topic of intersex, which I intentionally left out of this video since I think I really dug my own grave deep enough with one video as it is. Anyways, let's hope next time will be an easier topic when I tell you why punching a Nazi is stupid.